Hey everybody, Austin here. And well, 2024 is coming to a close. Or it has come to a close if you're watching this. But regardless though, it certainly has been quite a year. It's been a year of me doing reviews that, while certainly not as frequent uh, and while they're certainly not coming out they weren't coming out every month, minus January. They certainly were interesting, to say the very least, especially since these are stuff that I personally wanted to work on. And there was a clear theme behind it. And that was this.
Thank you. I hadn't laughed like that in a long time.
Yep. It was a big, good, long laugh all the way through. And really, I think we kind of needed that in 2024, and in the coming years, we'll probably still need a good laugh or two. So, with all this in mind, let's take a look back at 2024 and sort of where my mindset was with a lot of these reviews. And let's start with this big one. After not doing a TV show last year, because I felt like doo-doo, I made the decision to do one this year. And what better one to start with than one of my favorite shows of all time, and for its 25th anniversary no less. Yeah, folks, I reviewed Ed, and Eddy, a show that changed my life, shaped my sense of humor, and reminded me of all the good times I had back when Chester Bennington was still alive and pumping out mad beats, and Metal Jesus had a clean-shaven face. And this was a review that predictably took longer than expected, as there was a lot of information to take in, as I was clipping like crazy, and because of a situation that happened in January, I had to reshoot the intro. In fact, here was what the original intro was supposed to be like. Excuse me. Hi everyone, my name is Austin, and we're in a brand new year, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, we're in 2024. A new year, and new things happening. So you know what that means?
It's time to motorboat!
Not quite, but I see what you're going for with that. But that's something you could do really any year, and so I don't really need to know why you need to do that this year, but that's not important right now. The important thing is, this is a leap year. So that means instead of 28 days in February, we get 29. Why? I don't know. I don't make up the rules. I just roll with it, man. If they add an extra day into the month, whatever. If they add an extra day in the year, I don't really care. I'm just living from day to day and just trying to be the best I can. And that's what you should do too. In fact, if you want to be the real best you can, be sure to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video with all your friends, and leave a like. Because I make good videos, and if you do so, you're going to be making me happy. Anyway, it's also 2024 is also an election year. And I've already got a sneak peek of our brand new candidates coming soon. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's my dad versus Sugar Conroy. I'm going to let you vote for the biggest jerk because, well, one's not a jerk. The other one's actually likable. Sugar Conroy all the way. Xenoblade is my boobs. Doing Daisy on hard. Bad puns. Yeah. Anyway, So as we say goodbye to 2023 and all the joy and heartbreak that it brought us, we must now look forward to the future as we enter a brand new year. And to start off the year, we're going to be celebrating the 25th anniversary of one of my favorite shows of all time, and one of my favorite cartoons of all time. And really something that I was glad when this finally got made because, well, I made a video talking about how this show deserved a DVD release, and I got it. Maybe not in the way that I wanted it to be had, but I got it anyway. Don't mind that, it's just a washing machine. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Ed, and Eddy. So yeah, we're going to be talking about this, celebrating 25 years of it, and just giving it the show it's just deserves. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Yeah. For those who don't know the context, let me give you the rundown of what exactly happened. Because chances are you probably thought, it doesn't seem too bad. But here's really what was the big kicker of what caused me to reshoot it. Essentially, back in January of 2024, Emil Rosales-Biro, aka Chugga Conroy, was accused by a woman known as Lady Emily of essentially being kind of a sex pest of sorts, kind of a creep of sorts. And from there, the situation spiraled out of control, with statements from other big figures with a following stating that he had something of a behavioral problem, as well as a chat log that tried to make him seem like a Jerry Sandusky type of person. And it was all around just a terrible situation that went from bad to worse within a short time frame. Now thankfully this has since been resolved, as Emil did clarify things that needed explaining, while also admitting that mistakes had been made. Just nothing on the level of Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, and taking responsibility for these actions. And was able to make amends with one of the allegers, who we learned he was in a relationship that ended in a very brutal breakup. And it thankfully hasn't derailed his career beyond repair, meaning unlike Gerard the Completionist, he actually handled it like a real man rather than make excuses or lie through his teeth. But still, those initial allegations were enough to warrant a reshoot of the intro out of fear of someone stating they like to strangle me while I'm sitting on the toilet. And just in general, it brought out the worst in the Runaway Guys community, which also proves that even the most unlikely of fandoms has the chuds. And them boys need Jesus. Lots of Jesus. Metal Jesus especially. But even with the reshoot, it was still a fun video to work on, and one of my favorites of the year, as these usually tend to be. With my favorite moment really just being during the marathon segment where I just show a clip from Back to the Future after realizing that same person who spent the entire weekend watching Cartoon Network shows on marathon, realizing, uh-oh, I'm late for school. Overall, this is a good one. I'll handle this one, Ostmeister. After his most triumphant hour-long review of Ed, Edd, and Eddy, the Ozman and that lovable Jedi Ace decide to let me do a review after nearly derailing Ostamandis' whole life and Batman review, and mostly being relegated to little bit parts in certain cases, not to mention a failed pilot for a series that never went forward. Giving me a chance to show that I can be just as informative as Osimoto tends to be in all cases. So, with this in mind, I reviewed The Big Lebowski, a classic Coen Brothers film that is the quintessential "this is a lifestyle movie," with lots of laughs and a dark edge that draws you in and doesn't stop until we reached our destination. And considering the story behind the making of the movie, it also gripped me until I reached my stop, so that you had a fountain of information that you can use to impress your friends at parties. Kind of like what my girl Mandy does with her friends and her husband on Jackbox night down at my girlfriend's house. This was a groovy review for a tubular film, and if I ever get to do more, I'm in it to win it. And I hope you'll watch me like how you watch Osticus Finch here. After Jeremy's review of The Big Lebowski, I made the decision to cover a film that, at the time, I had no interest in covering, as I was mostly content with covering the first installment and moving on with my life, as is usually the case with these reviews. But after covering some sequels in the past, such as the Star Wars prequel trilogy and Batman Returns, and because curiosity has killed this cat here most times than none, I figured it was time to cover the sequel to the first review I ever did. That was Escape from LA, the so far only a sequel to Escape from New York, which released 15 years after the first film. Escape from LA was okay. It wasn't bad, but it pales in comparison to Escape from New York. Escape from New York had this sort of ghost town vibe, where it depicted a once illustrious city and populous landmark in America as this dystopian super prison where there are no guards inside to monitor them, and all there is are criminals who over time turn the city into Transylvania at midnight. It probably inspired Batman Arkham City, one of my favorite video games of all time and probably the best Batman game out there. Escape from New York is kind of the same, but without that gritty edge that made the first film so remarkable. And here, feeling like a goofy cartoon with more camp than a Silver Age Batman comic. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. Trust me, I love silliness as much as the next guy. But man, is it jarring going back and forth between these two. I know it does have a fan base, and John Carpenter has said he prefers this one over Escape from New York, but for me, it just doesn't do it for me as the previous film did. It just isn't that good. It was fun to do the review, and it really makes me look forward to when I do want to cover Batman Forever, which will probably fare the same as Escape from LA, but nostalgia and Val Kilmer will make it all worth it. Not to mention U2's Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. Awesome song. Just awesome song right there. But yeah, Escape from LA, watchable? Yes. Better than Escape from New York? No. Fun review? Hell yeah! I love it! Okay, so this really isn't a review per se. In fact, I'm not even sure what I would qualify it as. I'd say it's more of an overview slash reaction to essentially a forgotten piece of Cartoon Network history. But you know what? I'll discuss it because it is a unique video when compared to a lot of what I do. The first 13th annual Fancy Anvil Awards Show program special, live in stereo, was a fictitious awards program that aired on Cartoon Network back in 2002 as a parody of the Oscars. And it was definitely the most different when compared to a lot of videos, mostly because while a lot of the reviews are slideshows with voiceover, music, and pictures, with an occasional video clip here and there, this had video and voiceover for certain parts, making it similar to something like the Nostalgia Critic or a Cinema Snob video, or even an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd, because the picture moves while I speak. Not to mention, this was Cartoon Network at a different point in time, before stuff like Adventure Time and such would air and change things for the network, back when all there was the classics from Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry, and Looney Tunes reruns, to Ed, Edd and Eddy, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, and the Powerpuff Girls, and is a time capsule of that period in time, and is a style of video I do want to do again someday, only with Nickelodeon and their literal time capsule, which I also want to do a video about because that thing ain't opening until Citizen Kane enters the public domain and James Rolfe makes it to 62.
I'm old. I beg your pardon. Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper. Okay, that's enough.
So yeah, there's that video. Different, but I like it a lot. Here's an event that, in the time that I started the show, I knew at some point I wanted to do in order to honor someone who, for lack of a better word, was my hero. I idolized this man. The world loved him, and he was a legend of the comedy world. And when he died, the whole world was in shock, and mourned the tragic death of this wonderful comedian. The subject in question was Robin Williams, the one person who made me into the man I am and inspired a whole generation of comedians to spread laughter to the masses. And for this summer event, I spent it honoring the late comedian for the 10th anniversary of his death, because even now, the world feels empty without him to crack us up. For each review, I opened with a monologue each, kind of like with the Star Wars prequel trilogy reviews, with the Birdcage opening with a voiceover giving you an idea of who Robin Williams was. Good Morning Vietnam covered how I've grown to appreciate him in later years because of how versatile he was, and Mrs. Doubtfire was basically a discussion of how his life was filled with personal struggles and addiction problems, and at the end of that same review, how it felt knowing that he had taken his own life and how it coincided with other tragedies that year, including within my own family. The Birdcage review I did first to tie in with Pride Month, while Good Morning Vietnam and Mrs. Doubtfire I did because these two were some of my favorite movies of all time. And overall, it was a very personal event. As a fan of Robin Williams, and as I mentioned in the Mrs. Doubtfire review, the same year he died, my Uncle Dennis and my great-grandfather Teofilo, aka Phil, also died that year. And really in the years since, I feel we lose more great talent as we get older. I mean, we lost Donald Sutherland in 2024, Rachel Lewis is no longer with us, James Earl Jones is gone, and this was the year Roger Corman died. And on a personal note, over on my dad's side of the family, my great-grandfather passed away, which hit my grandma hard. So it hasn't exactly gotten easier as we have seen. But the most important thing about the event is that Robin Williams may be gone, but shouldn't and will not be forgotten. Because he made us laugh and he made us cry. Sometimes at the same time. Because he was goddamn hysterical. And feels almost as though he never left. Which is always important when you remember someone. The point is, heroes, they get remembered, but legends never die. And as long as I'm kicking, no one is going to forget Robin Williams. And this event is proof of that. So, please, go check out these videos. Following the event and a period of reflection, I returned for Halloween to celebrate 40 years of one of my favorite films of all time and one of the funniest too. This came in the form of Ghostbusters. one of the best comedies of the 1980s, and one of the best movies of 1984, as well as one of the best movies of the 1980s in general. And was something that has stuck with me ever since I was a kid, and really was just comfort food. Not to mention, still felt tied into Halloween, even though it wasn't a horror film, at least not in the general sense. It was fun talking about the production of the film, even though it ended up going as long as an hour. My favorite production detail being the fact that Isaac Asimov was literally just like annoyed at all of what was going on. And it was just a joy talking about everything that makes the film work and why it has stood the test of time even after 1984 had come and gone. The only thing I didn't discuss was how they brought the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to life and some other little details here and there, but overall, I had fun with this review, and I definitely recommend that you check it out. I mean, 2-hour-long reviews within the same year? That's amazing to me. And to close out the year, once again following a period of reflection, I covered The Santa Claus, which hilariously enough was celebrating its 30th anniversary as well, although this was not the intention. I just wanted to talk about it because it was Christmas and it isn't complete until you see Tim Allen as Santa walking with his elves to ZZ Top's Gimme All Your Lovin'. A true holiday tradition if I do say so myself. And yeah, it was quick, easy, and fun all around. And there were even little details I felt were interesting and worth sharing with all of you, because it's truly a holiday classic unlike any other. Plus, I got to use this clip.
I'm in big trouble.
One thing I forgot to mention is that David Paul Grove, who, as we know, was the voice of Johnny in Ed, Edd, and Eddy, as we learned earlier, if you saw that review, shows up in here as one of the guys who takes the lunch orders, especially Scott's. Something I really should remember after having mentioned it in that review. But, minus that, it was a great way to close out the year, which was quite the year, frankly. And, yeah, that was 2024 in reviews. Certainly not the biggest work-heavy year compared to all of the years prior, but hey, I got to do stuff that I wanted to do, and really with the summer event, it was something that I had always planned and had been planning really since I don't even know when, probably maybe even as far back as when I started doing the reviews. Or, I don't know, maybe it was following the summer gym. But, nevertheless, it was certainly a big year and a really fun year to do a lot of these reviews. And I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope that they brought a smile to your face. And I hope you enjoyed this look back. And yes, there'll probably be one at the end of 2025 if I get the chance. So, with all that in mind, I will catch you later. I'll see you in 2025, where more reviews will be coming for the foreseeable future. Take care, everybody.
This episode sucks my shit. It's not even funny and I'd rather play Ninja Gaiden on hard mode. With cheese balls. I'm late again.